Today's guest is Patrick Akrivos, licensed psychologist and psychotherapist in Greece, Austria, and online the world, specializing in families and children and cross-cultural lives. I will stop there because I want to let Patrick tell us his story. Could we start with your childhood and your family, because your cross-cultural roots go back very far?
Yes, so my mum's is pretty straightforward. She was born in Austria, but on the land, so to say, agricultural, and then moved to the city at around age 5. And after that, it was the war, and she ended up in an orphanage. And after that, in her early teens, she already was tramping through most of Europe, which were countries including France, Germany, Sweden, and England. And so she was already pretty fluent in quite a few languages. And at some point, she heard that there was a lot of work to be had in the late 50s, early 60s in Beirut. So she tried to reach Beirut via Athens, and back then transit or changing flights might mean that you had to wait a few days, not like nowadays, a few hours. So as she was waiting in Athens for a connecting flight, the airport closed, the Intifada started, and she kind of got stuck in Athens, where she met my dad. My dad is a little bit more interesting. His mom, my grandmother, Maria Schlaun, she was born in the Austrian-Hungarian Empire in a German-speaking village outside of Ljubljana, which is Slovenia today, and then relocated to Trieste, which at some point after the First World War was for a short time independent before it united with Italy. So that's a pretty interesting part there. And my grandfather, my father's side again, he did grow up partially in Athens, but in a household where everybody spoke French, because that was the language of the, of the intelligentsia, of the intellectuals, then boarding school in England. So, and then my dad was also in a British boarding school, then left for the States once he graduated, a British boarding school in Greece. And then he was forced to come back. He didn't really like that a lot, so he pretty much refused to speak Greek. And that is the background of my parents. So I grew up in a household in Greece where we only spoke English most of the time and some German. And my parents spoke French when they didn't want us kids to understand them. And growing up in a German school, in the German part of a German school in which people could only enter if they had a foreign passport. And people with Greek passport could not enter that school back then. And that was like a little isolated bubble of international, which united us, but we were pretty much from many different places.
It's extraordinary.
I talked a lot now. I really made it.
No, but it's really good, because I think sometimes we have a tendency to think that this multiculturalism and globalization, it's something of the modern world, something of today, the 21st century. Not at all. And your mother, she was alone in France, UK, Sweden, Athens, on her way to Beirut, a young person on her own. These are incredible stories, and this really shapes us, I think.
Yeah.
And because it shapes us, it shapes everything going forward. So it shaped her relationship with your dad. I'm assuming it shaped her relationship with you kids, because it becomes a part of us, and that shapes everything that
definitely.
We do.
And we were in the 80s and 90s back then in Greece. We were an isolated international community where every June I would say goodbye to the people in school, and every September I would meet new people in my class. And the only person who stayed from first grade right to graduation was me, because literally there was a turnover every year of people coming and going. So it was always meeting and greeting and saying goodbyes at the same time. So it was a constant flow of connecting, disconnecting, connecting, disconnecting.
Do you feel like that aspect has remained with you in a certain sense? Perhaps you've changed it or recognized it and molded it into something different?
I don't know if I'm answering your question, but I can say, and I think most TCKs will resonate with what I'm going to say. I love airports. And when I can't travel, I sometimes actually take the train now I have a car to the airport to have a coffee there, because it's just the sense of home, this naturalness of people coming and going, the colors, the languages, the smells, everything. That's where like home is, like somewhere international, somewhere where people are on a constant move. We travel a lot. I'm every month in Vienna, we're in Greece, and we spend a lot of time in her home country, which is Spain. So, airports is like taking a plane is like taking a city bus from, one part of the city to another. It's natural. It's a natural extension of our living space.
Does it feel almost freeing in the sense that, when water moves, it's fresher water, and when water can't move, it sort of stagnates? This is what I'm thinking as I'm hearing this. I'm making in my head this connection. Would you feel that connection?
I love the picture, and it resonates with me because, stagnant water becomes moldy and smelly and swampy. And when I don't travel a lot, I feel like swampy, still water, and my itchy feet will drive me mad, and I just can't stand at one place because staying in one place is unnatural for me.
Yes.
And the flow is something natural. It's very natural, the flow. Meeting new people, connecting, going out there, see what else is there. And that's why I often also don't like going to the same place twice.
Yes, of course. Because it becomes routine in that sense.
Yeah, there comes again not flowing water if I'm at the same place too often. So it has to change. Something new has to come in.
Yes. Which is good with online now, for example, that you can be in all kinds of different places, but because of online, you can be practicing worldwide.
I think that's the blessing of COVID. I mean, it opened up my psychotherapy office to the world and to connecting, and it's marvelous. It really is marvelous. And it gives this sense that, well, I'm sitting geographically in one place, but literally I'm in the world, and it's beautiful.
So the multiculturalism of your parents, and you had this at home, the multiculturalism of the enclave that you lived in, and of this changing students. How did you choose psychology and psychotherapy? Is there some sort of connection?
That is a very personal question that goes very far.
I'm so sorry.
No.
I
like it. No, not at all.
If it is, we move on.
What I mean is, I don't know if we are within the bounds of what we're talking about today, because that's a question that goes far beyond the boundaries of talking just cross-culturally. I mean, I started off. I mean, in the 80s and 90s, we had teachers that were literally flown in from Germany to teach for a year or two and then be flown back. And it was, a very turbulent political time. So it was very political, everything. And there was always this idea that, change the world and all those rather, I don't want to use political terminology, but let's say kind of social revolutionary ideas of creating a society based on certain humanistic ideals. So I studied politics, believing that that's the way to go. Met my other students and thinking that these would be the other politicians, I got kind of scared. And I said, we're doomed if we are it. So I kind of switched over to find that psychology there gives a bigger answer of creating a global society where we can interact with respect, peace, and understanding. And of course, there are personal histories of, difficult family situations that also combined into that thought of, how can we relate to each other with less violence and more love and compassion and understanding, and definitely with a lot less the sense of white privileged psychotherapy. I mean, very early on, I felt this mistake when I was told that I have commitment issues because I have itchy feet. And then I was in Holland, and I met Halla Bach, who is also a cross-cultural, brilliant therapist, who gave me back then in the early 2000s. She gave me the book by Pollock and Ruth, this Bible of the third culture kids, and suddenly I saw that everything that everybody said was an issue was just a description of my culture. And then I saw also this unfairness of looking at other cultures always through this lens of a superior Western idea, which I despise, because I was a victim of it. And I guess people who look different and are even more different than me, they must have had it even more difficult. And this is something that I want to do differently.
So I do see a connection between the cross-culture and this choice. The reason that I ask is because sometimes we feel that our cross-cultural path might be a bit heavy, and we might keep it somewhere. But I think that there's a beautiful chance to embrace it, to use it, to find what we want to do in our life, because a profession is so important. We can flourish in it. We can express ourselves. There's also, we have to pay the rent. There's also the practical side. But I feel that we can use this cross-cultural part of our life, whatever happened therein, because every story is so unique, and it can come out to something very beautiful for each person. And I feel that in your story.
Cynthia, I love the way you articulate everything. I couldn't have said it better. It's exactly how you say it, and it's beautifully articulated. And I would hide a lot of it. And I would be a really good chameleon, trying to adjust everywhere and hide a lot. And when I tried to show who I am, monocultural people wouldn't easily understand it.
Yeah.
And it would be very frustrating and painful, and a feeling of not being seen or understood, not having this place. And then the first times I expressed myself freely in my multicultural self was with other people like me. And that gave me a sense of safety to say, okay, I will express my culture, even though it does not have a geographical space of existence, like people from a specific monocultural place. And I'm more daring in showing it to monocultural people, and I feel more comfortable explaining it. However, still sometimes people do react to it. It happened to me last summer, and it was a very hurtful experience. And saying, I'm Greek, really. I can be Greek enough, and I can be Austrian enough, but I'm not really it.
Yes.
And then there was this pressure. What language do you dream? What language do you do math? So you are this. I said, no, I'm not.
No.
Oh, why are you resisting your identity that you are the culture, the language you dream? And there was a lot of pressure of that. It was really uncomfortable.
Yes.
It stayed with me for quite a few weeks, I say, even though when I've been in therapy and everything, it was still heavy.
Yes.
So sometimes I still tend to hold back sometimes, but when I feel safe, it's as you said, it's beautiful. Other people appreciate it, and I appreciate it, and it's really nice.
I'm sorry.
We're running out of time.
No, that was my phone, and I turned it off. But I think that, as you say, with people who come from a homogeneous background, it can be so almost impossible to understand this, the feeling that they have to really find where to put you on the shelf. There has to be a box that I have that he fits in, and the pressure, and it's quite invasive.
Yeah. And sometimes it goes even further. I mean, I have so many memories, and some of them is that I was being called, even by therapists or colleagues, arrogant or self-centered or pompous. Pompous is the word. You're very pompous. Because, being international, I have people I know and I love and deeply care about everywhere in the world. And you would hear on the news something happening somewhere, and I would be like, oh my God, Jill, what's up with her? Or, Kanak, Matil, my God, she's there. And people say, oh, you're just pompous, trying to show off. But these are my people. Monoculture people don't have this diversity. Well, they do. Don't like to categorize. I don't like the binary them and us, but somehow I have to talk about it. And yeah,
it's complicated because it's, as you say, some more than others, but there is sort of a, I don't know if I want to say boundary, maybe, like where carpet meets the wood on the floor.
Yeah.
It's you can sometimes walk smoothly and sometimes you trip.
Yeah. Yes, exactly like that.
I think it's very helpful to be able to find others who have had this experience so that we can understand that we don't have to be a certain way. There are others also who feel really in so many places. And once there is this stability, I suppose, in ourselves, I think it can help us to go further. The people you work with must feel also very calm by knowing that you've gone through things also. You're not just saying it. It's you also have lived it. There's something I think important about talking to someone and you think they've lived it, they understand.
And it helps that I could put it in words. Or maybe sometimes even in pictures, depending if we draw or if we do speaking, to help symbolize it. Because sometimes people they've so learned to adjust, constantly adjust, and not really put their experience into cohesive narration of self, who I am in emotional experience. And someone says things, it's like, wow, this is exactly what I feel. Oh, we're talking about grief. Yes, exactly. I've lost so much in every move I've made. And at the same time, there was grief and joy at the same moment. The goodbye was full of grief and the hello was full of joy. And finally, someone acknowledges that and puts it in words. And it's like a relief.
Just feeling it's acknowledged helps go forwards, I should think.
Yes. And it's different when it comes just from, oh, I read a book about loss and grief of multicultural or mobile people. And it's different if it comes from the heart of, I felt it, I've been there.
Yeah.
I resonate with you. And I meet you where you are.
I think your story also is a sign, not a sign. It's an example of how all the different parts of life can find a way to come together and make something really good. We just need to find what that thing is for us.
Yes. It's becoming whole, I often say to people I work with, we're not one picture, we're not a portrait. We are collage of many pictures. And those pictures are sometimes pictures develop further, they take more space, sometimes they shrink, they're dynamic, the pictures which we made of that collage. And the pictures between themselves have relationships. I mean, the parts of me which are deeply Austrian, which I love, and there are also parts which are deeply Austrian, which I'm like, oh, I cringe, because they don't get along very well with certain Greek parts of me.
Yes.
Very well along with some very American parts of me, which I got from my dad who lived in the States, And there are other parts that really get well along with the American parts, but other ones don't like it. So there is an interesting dialogue happening between the pictures of the collage I made of. And
I like this.
Really interesting just to sit back and, I'm still in therapy and, sometimes, it's really interesting just to sit back with my therapist and just look at that collage and the dialogue that's happening between my parts and pictures. And, sometimes I even imagine like having popcorn and looking at something, the different nationalities, different cultural inputs that understand each other, and tiny little pictures suddenly have a space to talk up. And I remembered, what was that that TV series on Netflix? I'm not advertising, by the way. Unorthodox. And there was a lot of Yiddish being talked in Unorthodox.
Yes.
And
that was very good.
My mom was when she was an au pair in England, she was at a family who spoke Yiddish. So when we went home, and a lot of Yiddish would be spoken just by mixed into this pidgin language we were speaking, where we were putting in one sentence too many different languages in one sentence, and there were a lot of Yiddish words. And I looked at Orthodox, and there's a little tiny part in my collage. So I understand nearly everything that's being said. I can't speak it, but I nearly understood everything. I didn't need to read subtitles or anything. It was like, and suddenly this tiny little speck in my collage, suddenly grew a bit and had space. And then after I finished the series, that part again became smaller again.
But it's still there.
Of course, it's still there.
I like how this is also, for me, what I'm thinking is there are so many cross-cultural parts of us that we don't choose. They're just there. Because sometimes I'm thinking, it's quite nice. We get to choose all these things. No, but a lot of it we don't choose. And that is quite profound. And we might not even realize we have it until all of a sudden one point it comes.
Yeah.
And then we discover more about who we are. I suppose we are another person that we're getting to know our whole life in that sense, perhaps.
Yeah, and it's incredible. I like what you said. Some parts we choose and some parts are just there. And I resonate with that in the sense that I see it very clearly with food and eating. There's certain times of the year, certain days of the year, there's certain foods which it's just the natural way of cooking this on that day and eating it, that taste. And certain things on certain days of the year are conscious choices of liking that contact with that other culture and taking it up. And sometimes things are very it's just what it is. That's the way it is. And other things are chosen. I really like that. I think I just became aware of that when you said it.
Then I also became aware of it from what you said. So maybe we both became aware of it just now in this conversation.
Yeah, something happened. Something grew there. Yes, in that space.
Oh, thank you, Patrick. This is going to stay now in my head, and I'm going to be thinking about this. And in even my daily life, as things happen, as I react, as ideas come, as tastes for food come, I think I'm going to see it in a different way. It's in there. Maybe I chose it, maybe I didn't choose it. It's in there.
Yeah. And sometimes you choose, and it's in there, and then you unchoose maybe. And I know you interviewed Matthew before me, and I just want to put out there an idea, would be awesome. I don't know if it's even possible or if it works, but maybe have a bigger round table with some of the people.
Why not? Maybe we can do it next year.
Would be fantastic.
To everyone who's been joining us, please subscribe down below. And I'll also put a link to contacts for Patrick in the description. Thank you.